Let's ask ourselves a question. How can pendulums force their followers to voluntarily give up energy? A large and powerful pendulum can force its followers to act according to certain rules. But how do weak pendulums do this? When a person does not have the power to force another to do something, they use reasonable arguments, persuasion, promises. All these are weak methods inherent exclusively in human society, which has strayed from natural forces. Pendulums also sometimes use these methods, but they also have much more powerful weapons. Pendulums are energetic and informational entities, so they obey and act in accordance with the powerful and immutable laws of existence in this world. A person gives energy to the pendulum when they radiate mental energy at the resonant frequency of the pendulum. To do this, a person does not need to consciously direct their thoughts in favor of the pendulum. As you yourself understand, most of people's thoughts and actions are in the field of the unconscious. Pendulums use this property of the human psyche. The pendulum manages to receive energy not only from its supporters, but also from ardent opponents. You can probably guess how. Imagine a group of old women on a bench cursing the government of a country. They are not supporters of the government's pendulum. They hate it for a variety of reasons. However, what is happening? The old women scold the government for being untalented, corrupt, cynical, and stupid. Therefore, they intensely radiate mental energy to the frequency of this pendulum. In fact, the pendulum does not care which side you swing it to. Both positive and negative energies are suitable for a pendulum. The main thing is that the radiation frequency is resonant. So the main task of a pendulum is to hook, to touch a human being no matter how, as long as the person's thoughts are occupied by the pendulum. With the advent of the media, pendulum techniques are becoming more sophisticated. The person becomes increasingly dependent. Have you noticed that news programs are often dominated by bad news? They evoke strong emotions: anxiety, fear, resentment, anger, hatred. The job of the media is to attract attention. The media, being pendulums themselves, are at the service of more powerful pendulums. The stated goal is free access to any information. One of the pendulum's favorite ways to access your energy is to throw you off balance. Having strayed from balance, you begin to oscillate at the frequency of the pendulum and thus cause it to swing. Let's say prices have gone up. You react negatively. You start to get indignant, complain, exchange information with your friends. Quite a normal and adequate reaction. But this is exactly what the pendulum expects. You radiate negative energy into the world around you at the frequency of the pendulum. It receives energy and swings even more. The situation worsens. The strongest thread the pendulum can pull on is fear, the oldest and strongest feeling. It doesn't matter what you are afraid of. But if the fear is associated with any aspect of the pendulum, it will receive your energy. Anxiety is already a weaker thread, but still strong enough. These feelings register very well, the emission of mental energy at the frequency of the pendulum. If something bothers you, you will find it difficult to concentrate on anything else. Feelings of guilt are also one of the widest channels through which the pendulum draws energy from you. Feelings of guilt have been imposed on us since childhood. This is a very convenient method of manipulation. If you are guilty, you have to do what I tell you. It is very uncomfortable to live with a feeling of guilt, so they try to get rid of it. How to get rid of it? Be punished or resolve the guilt. Both involve submission, obedience, and the work of thoughts in a certain direction. Duty is a special case of guilt. You must, it means that something is obligatory. You are guilty of fulfilling. As a result, the guilty, both real and artificial, wander around with their heads bowed and carry their pendulum in the form of energy. Suggested and induced guilt is the favorite weapon of manipulators, and we will return to it. It is worth noting all kinds of psychological complexes in people. Inferiority complex: I'm unattractive, I have no skills or talents, I lack intelligence or wit, I don't know how to communicate with people, I am unworthy. Guilt complex: I am guilty, everyone condemns me, I have to carry my cross. Warrior complex: I have to be great, I declare war on myself and everyone around me. I will fight for a place in the sun. I will take my strength. Truth lover complex. I will prove my case at any cost and show others that they are wrong. These and other complexes are personal keys to the energy of individuals. The pendulum, which touches a person to earn a living, intensely pumps energy out of them. You yourself can continue the list of strings by which pendulums pull their puppets. Justice. Pride, vanity, honor, love, hate, greed, generosity, curiosity, interest, hunger, and other feelings and needs. Feelings and interest allow you to fix the flow of thoughts in a certain direction. If a topic is not interesting or emotional, then it is very difficult to concentrate on it. Therefore, pendulums capture the flow of thoughts by touching on a person's feelings and needs. As a rule, people have a habit of responding in a standard way to negative external stimuli. Negative news evokes discontent. Disturbing news evokes a reaction of concern or fear. Resentment evokes aversion, etc. Habits serve as a starting lever to set the grip mechanism in motion. For example, the habit of being irritated or anxious over minor issues. The habit of responding to provocation in general. Responding with a negative reaction to a negative stimulus. A person may realize that negative thoughts and actions are not good, but out of habit they make old mistakes. So in general terms, we examined the methods of influence of pendulums on people. Can a person free themselves from the influence of a pendulum? We will talk more about the methods of liberation. However, it often happens that a person rebels and openly opposes the pendulum that enslaved them. In such a fight, a person is always defeated. A pendulum can only be defeated by another pendulum. A person can do nothing. If you stop obeying and enter into a fight, you will only lose energy and at best be expelled from the system and, at worst, crushed. The adherent who dares to violate the rules established by the pendulum is banned. Outwardly, this manifests itself as condemnation for an act. In fact, the guilt lies not in the act itself, but in the fact that the adherent has stopped obeying, that is, has stopped supplying energy to the pendulum. Why doesn't the sword cut off the guilty person's head? Because a person who has accepted the feeling of guilt is completely willing to submit to the power of the pendulum. For a pendulum, the adherent's remorse for the action is irrelevant. The only thing that matters is the restoration of lost control. The pendulum will immediately become kinder if you give it the ability to manipulate you. Well, if the guilty party does not obey, then they can be eliminated since there is nothing else to take away from them. The true motives of a pendulum are often veiled by moral principles. You yourself can easily distinguish where the moral principle operates and where the interests of the system are affected if you always remember this.